Joining us now is Ehud Barak. He is the former Israeli general. He was the prime minister of Israel from 1999 to 2001. Mr. Barak, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I have spoken to a number of Israelis and a number of American avid supporters of Israel over the last few days, and I have never heard them as worried about the future of Israel. Where are you right now in terms of the democratic health of your country, and have you pulled back from the brink?
I think that there was a major victory for the protest movement against Netanyahu, basically coerce him into capitulating and stopping at the last moment what was defined by our Chief Justice, Esther Hayut, as not a judicial reform, but an explicit effort or attempt to crush the judicial system and the independence of the Supreme Court and push Israel outside of the family of democratic nations. So the whole public stood up, all leading group in all ways of life, and said up to here, and you described it very well, but the overall battle is not over. It's one-time major victory. Now some of the protesters might give him a pause. Others, as you have described, won't give him a pause. And there are some negotiations opened in the office of the president of the state, Mr. Herzog, between different factions. The opposition was there today. Probably the coalition will be tomorrow. And we will see. I'm confident we will win. Netanyahu won't be able to push Israel into a kind of status like Hungary under Orban or Poland under Kaczynski. We are too strong and too kind of aggressive.
Well, I mean, that's interesting that you say that. It's interesting you say that, Prime Minister Barak, because that's what everybody thinks, right? That's America also thinks we're too strong to be pushed into this kind of nonsense. And underlying what Netanyahu is doing, this is a guy you know, you've run against him, you've won against him. This is not the only problem. The judicial reform is not the only problem. He is the prime minister again because he has formed a coalition that is, and every time he gets elected, we say this, it's the most right-wing coalition in Israel's history. This is not where it begins or ends.
No, it didn't end yet, but it will end, I believe. You know, we have an empirical evidence that whenever a major protest force count more than 3.5% of the population. It's about 7 or 8% of the adult population, and tenaciously and kind of determinedly keep protesting. At the end of it, the government either capitulate or falls down, and that's what will happen in Israel as well. The government won't be able to continue this way, and Netanyahu lost a lot of his prestige. There is a free fall of his favorability among the people, and the majority of his own voters are against of what he's doing. And many people lost their trust that Netanyahu is still got the proper or the judgment and calibrated kind of attitude to the problem that the prime minister in Israel needs.
There's another issue going on, and that there's increased tensions with the Palestinians. There are provocations on both sides of this issue, but this Netanyahu government has not helped the situation in the way that it's been reacting. And there are a lot of Palestinians, because we've talked to a lot of them on this network, who say this is fantastic that all these Israelis came out and protested against judicial reforms, but there's still the problem of the Palestinians, and you don't see 500,000 Israelis taking to the streets to say, let's solve that problem. You tried. You tried when you were prime minister. This prime minister is not trying.
I think we have to put on the shelf for the time being the big elephants in the room. There is the one in regard to the Palestinians. There is another one about the relationship between religion and the state. There are gaps in the society. There are many main issues, but they have all been put on the shelf by now in order to make sure, first of all, that Israel will remain a democracy. So we join hands from all parts of the situation. You mentioned earlier the firing of the defense minister. The Minister of Defense, which is Israel, is the direct responsible to the armed forces. He demanded gathering of the cabinet in order to present to the cabinet what he sees as an immediate and apparent risk to the security of the nation. And that's something unheard of, that the Prime Minister did not respond it on the spot. And Netanyahu didn't let him to gather the cabinet, his cabinet, the Prime Minister's cabinet. And the reason was that the next morning there should be some vote in the Knesset where one of these crazy laws that he tries to pass in order to push Israel out of the democratic nation's family has to be decided. So basically, Netanyahu was afraid that if the ministers in the cabinet, which are members of the Knesset, will hear first year, will hear what the commander of the armed force, what the head of our intelligence, what the leaders of the defense establishment think about it, they might not join him in voting for his laws. So he closed it. And when the minister demanded and went out and told the public the truth, he fired him. That's something unheard of and led many people, including the Netanyahu supporters, to put a question mark about his judgment. We don't have constitution. We don't have the 25th Amendment. But these 500,000 people in the street, which is about more than 10% of adult population Israel, equivalent of Americans, probably 170 million. When these 500,000 are in the streets, it's because we don't have constitution, we don't have 25th Amendment, and people feel that that's what the fit step to take. And you see in the picture, we will win. The protest will ultimately win. It might take time.
All right.
I have ups and downs, but we won't lose the game.
We'll continue this conversation because we can't put the matter of the Palestinians on the shelf forever. So I'll invite you back and we'll continue that conversation.
Not forever, but for the time being. There's urgency.
We'll have to discuss that because there are a whole lot of Palestinians who say this is the moment to talk about it. But thank you. I know you're up in the middle of the night for us, and I always appreciate your time. Ehud Barak is the former Prime Minister of Israel.